Welcome to Virtual Realms. I'm your host, Ranger One, and this is a new series that we're starting here on the channel, ARK Bestiary, where we're going to take a look at some of the newest creatures to be introduced to the ARK Survival Evolved game. Rumor has it that there's a new creature in town, and by its ominous description, I can only conclude that it is the one and only dreaded Giant Sabertoothed Hamster. I know, I'm in shock as well. I wouldn't have thought they would have brought into our cozy and peaceful gaming environment such a dangerous creature from our own prehistory, but there you have it. Silverado and I are in luck. Just a short distance from our sanctuary, we've spotted our first specimens. We're going to maintain our altitude and take a closer look. It's the only way that we can safely observe such a dangerous species. Prehistoric giant saber-toothed hamsters are extremely volatile, so the first step in my observations of these creatures will be to clear the area of anything that can set off their killer instincts. The last thing we need is for this hapless rainbow Spinosaurus to inadvertently set off a feeding frenzy. Sorry, my friend, but the moment you entered this area, you were already dead. I'm going to let Silverado clean up the kill before the scent of blood and entrails triggers a lethal response from these deadly rodents. I have to move quickly, though, as giant saber-toothed hamsters are renowned for their finely honed senses. Now that the area is secure, it's time for us to take our first clear look at these incredibly dangerous... That was a giant beaver. Castoroides. Well, that's a huge relief. I was pretty concerned at the thought of giant saber-toothed hamsters so close to my base of operations. Let's continue on upstream and see if we can spot any more. If memory serves, Castoroides was running around in the late Pliocene, during the time that other megafauna, like saber-tooths and giant sloths, were roaming the Earth. Native to what is now known as North America, it was very similar in most respects to modern beavers, although due to their larger and thicker incisors, there is some debate as to whether they actually built dams and lodges as modern beavers do. The species found here in ARK definitely does, and is still sturdy enough to hold its own even against an adult sarco, although this one appears to have pretty much met its match. I doubt it's going to last much longer. It seems most predators on the ARK, including sarcos and snakes, have a taste for Castoroides meat, so these giant beavers have a rough time surviving here. If you decide to seek out Castoroides for yourself, you have to have a keen eye. They can be very difficult to spot, but you can find them in several places along ARK's river systems. They seem to be fond of hanging around areas where different rivers intersect or where a river enters a swamp area. One exception to this rule is this rocky spire sticking up in the middle of a horseshoe-shaped bend in the river. It's located right here on the map. Castoroides can often be found here in some numbers, and there's something else about this area that is ideal if you're looking for Castoroides on your own. You see, they do, in the wild, build dams, or perhaps more accurately, lodges, but they only do so where they can build them on solid rock. Anything destructible, they completely ignore. So you will often find these structures clustered around the base of this rocky spire, but never on the sandy beaches or other terrain nearby. If you can destroy that rock with your tools, that's not going to be a spot where Castoroides will build. This rocky shelf, located out on Paradise Island, well, what was formerly known as the Dead Island before I meddled with the ecosystem here, is an excellent example of what I mean. I introduced some wild Castoroides here a short while ago, and before they moved on from this spot to get closer to the water, they built these 4 lodges. If you open them up, well, there is plenty of wealth to be had inside. It's full of cementing paste, silica pearls, rare flowers and mushrooms, and stacks of wood. The amount of materials inside seems to vary wildly, but it's almost always worth your while to take a look. There's another one right over here. Let's pop it open and see what's inside. It looks like it might be a little bit larger. Almost 900 cementing paste in this one. It may be almost Easter everywhere else, but thanks to Castoroides, now it's like Christmas year-round here in the Ark. We've seen what Castoroides is like in the wild. Next, let's take a look at what you can expect from them once domesticated. Once you've located a likely specimen that you want to tame for your own, I strongly suggest you use an Argentavis or a Quetzal to take them to an area of safety for the actual tame. Castoroides are very protective of each other, and they will come from great distances to assist a member that signals they are in distress. Once there, the taming process is fairly straightforward. Be aware Castoroides do have a nasty bite, so make sure that you're well out of harm's way. Fortunately, they don't take too much in the way of tranquilizer to bring down. I actually wasted a tranquilizer dart on this one because it went down quicker than I expected. On the other hand, they do seem to fight off the effects of narcotics rather quickly, so expect to have plenty on hand. And keep in mind that their favorite food is actually vegetables, rather than berries. That's important to remember. Just in case you don't have any Gallimimus kibble laying around, it's a great excuse to go raid your closest neighbor's garden. The taming process itself doesn't take an overly long period of time, and before you know it, you're going to have your very own Castoroides for your personal use. We're going to name this one Mabel. I like that. This sanctuary is built in the area known as the Hidden Lake, and it's, I think, the only area outside of the river systems where Castoroides can commonly be found. Mabel should find herself very much at home here. I'm looking around because that parasaur was running from something. Best to arm up and... Yeah, it sounds like there's trouble. I better get inside and make sure everything's okay inside the sanctuary. Come on, Mabel, there's trouble afoot. Oh, never mind. It was just a wild dealer that got inside, and it was swiftly dealt with by my Dimorphoton security patrols. Hurry up, Mabel. Get your big butt inside the doors. There we go. It's time to get you some new companions, and some saddles need to be made as well. Castoroides saddles are a marvelous invention, and I'll show you why in just a moment. Come here, Mabel. I need to get your measurements. Our second Castoroides tame is named Mrs. Cleaver, and here she is, fully equipped with her new saddle. Now, the clever thing about a Castoroides saddle is not only does it let you ride them, of course, whether that be on land, or they are a surprisingly capable mount in the water as well. But when you pop it open, the saddle itself serves as a makeshift smithy, allowing you to do light construction or repair of your weapons in the field, as long as you have the appropriate materials at hand. And if the materials that you need happen to be wood or thatch, you're in luck. The Castoroides is a phenomenal gatherer of raw materials of that nature, and they can carry a tremendous amount. Wood and thatch really only takes up a fraction of the weight that it would normally. So this is a powerful advantage that this creature gives you when it comes to crafting. On the other hand, materials that don't benefit from this weight reduction bonus, well, they weigh their normal amount, and Castoroides, while not a wimp, is not the most powerful creature in the barn when it comes to weight allowance. Oh, here comes Tuxford. Hi, Tuxford. Tuxford makes it a point to introduce himself to any new female here in the sanctuary. Bye, Tuxford. Doesn't do him much good, though. Anyone who's familiar with Tuxford and his history around here knows that he's much better at turning things off than turning things on. Now it's time for me to turn my attention to taming a couple of males as well. It won't take long. And we're back. We've got a grand total now of 4 Castoroides here in the sanctuary. Mabel, Mrs. Cleaver, Eddie, and, of course, Wally. And they seem to have a whole lot of fun wandering around, getting into all sorts of mischief. Castoroides are inordinately fond of playing in the water, and when they're not busy building something or collecting something, that's usually where you can find them. When I say building or collecting for you, I mean that quite literally. Tame Castoroides are one of the few creatures that will work for you even while wandering the grounds, and wild Castoroides can be made to build their dams for you even if they are in captivity. I'll show you what I mean. This is Wally. We've brought him up to a small grove of trees in the sanctuary and put him on wander. As you can see, he's been a busy little beaver, cutting down trees left and right. It doesn't take him long, just a couple of quick bites, and down they go. Left to his own devices, he will quite happily make short work of even a large group of trees, and it takes quite a while to fill up his ravenous appetite for gnawing on wood. While it is true that I could gather wood a bit more quickly if I just got on him and rode him, think about it. Animals that do work for you while they're on wander free you up to do a multitude of other things. They don't have to be supervised, and even if they do gather materials at a slightly slower rate, you can be busy doing other things that are important that need to be done. Come here, Wally. I want to show him something. If we look in his inventory, we see that first, he can carry quite a bit of wood and thatch, as I described earlier. And second, do you notice what's not in there? No berries or anything else. If I were to ride him around and collect materials, we'd also be getting all sorts of berries and mushrooms and flowers that we may not necessarily want to have on hand. Here's also a better look at the capabilities of the saddle itself, functioning as a makeshift smithy. Pretty handy, you must admit. So while having a tamed mammoth around may have its advantages, a Castoroides more than earns its keep. I also mentioned that wild Castoroides can build for you. And here's what I mean. I've constructed a small pen on solid rock. Since this is in an area where Castoroides normally spawn, I don't have to worry about them despawning while I'm gone. I've put 5 Castoroides in the pen, and I'm going to leave them to their own devices for a little while. We're going to leave for about 20 minutes to a half an hour, just to let them have time to do their thing. You'll notice my tamed Castoroides have come over to introduce themselves and make friends. I doubt that's going to go over very well. Now, if things go according to plan, while I'm gone doing other things, these Castoroides will get busy constructing dams inside the enclosure. I think I'll head out to Paradise Island for a while and see what's up out there. With luck, there'll be some significant changes inside that pen by the time we return. Okay, the time is up and we're on our way back to the sanctuary. I have to admit I'm a little bit anxious as to what we'll see when we get there. I've not tried this experiment before this. There's the pen. And yes, we have success. There are 3 beaver lodges safely within the confines of the pen. What's not within the confines of the pen are 2 of my wild Castoroides. They've managed to slip out on my return. I'll have to take a moment and pop them back inside. I threw this pen together rather quickly, and it's not the most secure thing in the world. Come here, little one. Let's see what wonders you have wrought. Okay, the Castoroides are all inside the pen again. Everyone's present and accounted for. It's time to crack one of these dams open and see what's inside. I'm curious as to whether they'll contain as many goodies as the dams their wild brethren put together. If this is successful, it could be a far faster way of gathering cementing paste than even using a frog in the swamp. And the other resources don't hurt either. And there we go. Looks like about 400 cementing paste in this dam alone, and a fair amount of wood. No silica pearls this time, but that's okay. Let's go stow this over on Lockheed. Oh, and the beavers aren't happy about that at all. They are tearing at everything they can get their chiselly little teeth into. If I had made their enclosure out of wood rather than stone, we'd be in big trouble right about now. I'm going to go drop off what I've collected already and see if that'll give them a chance to calm down. Okay, you guys still mad? Yep, they're mad. Well, the only thing left to do is to take them out and Well, I'm just going to drop them off outside of the compound. I really am only doing this as an experiment. If I were going to continue doing this, I would have another pen made up in advance to put them in, to get them away from the lodges so I could get inside and get the goodies in safety. There. I've got the last of them dropped off safely outside the main gates. I'm going to go ahead and land Lockheed, and let's hop back inside the enclosure and see what else is in the other two lodges. Looks like a little over 200 cementing paste and some silica pearls, some rare flowers, and more wood. Oh, and there's some rare mushrooms as well. Well, that's not too bad. That leaves us one more lodge left to check. Not bad. That's real close to 1,000 cementing paste altogether between all three lodges. A ton of rare flowers, mushrooms, and of course a mountain of wood. And some silica pearls thrown in for good measure. All in all, I would say that was an excellent use of a half an hour's time, especially considering the fact that I was busy doing completely unrelated tasks. If you are fortunate enough to have a base in the hidden lake, this could be an excellent growth industry to consider. Beaver farming may be one of the most lucrative things that you could do with that property. And other locations where beaver spawns are common might also find themselves suddenly becoming much more popular to build in. Whether you are gathering materials near your base or traveling the Ark looking to set up a new location, Castoroides can prove itself to be invaluable, especially when you consider its mobility and ability to defend itself either on land or underneath the surface of a river or sea. If properly trained, it can more than hold its own with any but the largest predators on land or underneath the waves. Just keep in mind that if you're battling underwater and you get off, it is going to head directly to the surface as quickly as possible. So if you're considering taming aquatic creatures or gathering resources on the bottom of the ocean, you might be a little bit better off going with a dedicated water breather instead of this very versatile air-breathing mammal. As far as for myself, most of you know that in my compounds the animals are allowed to range freely wherever they will. And I have to admit that Castoroides brings a considerable amount of fun and energy to the general lifestyle of my animal community. I would personally keep a group of them around just for that factor alone, even if they weren't as incredibly handy as they are. My regular subscribers may notice that I have a couple of other new additions here in the compound as well. I've introduced some trilobites into the mix, and have gotten another anglerfish to keep Nightlight company. And I'm pleased to announce that Nightlight and the newcomer, White Knight, are getting along famously. It was an excellent suggestion by one of my subscribers named Embe Mamba. Thanks for the suggestion, Embe. It was a great idea. For the next episode of my regular series, The Ranger Chronicles, I've been working on plans for the development of the Sarco Falls area, as requested by the majority of our community here. As for this new ARK Bestiary series, well, I'm going to put that in your capable hands. I have planned to focus on one of the 3 new creatures coming out in the next patch, but I'm going to leave it up to you as to which one I cover first. Let me know in the comments section below. I've been having a lot of fun with the ARK section of my channel, and I'm more than happy to get input in its future direction from all of you as well. I want to take a moment and thank you for all of the subscriptions and for the likes and the shares as well. It means a lot to me, and it really helps the channel. But thanks most of all for your patience. I work a full-time job, and I only have a couple of hours in the evening each night to put these videos together, and still spend some time with my family. And I know that occasionally it can be a long time between episodes, especially if I'm taking the time out to cover another one of the games that we cover in this channel. So thank you for sticking with me, even when I don't put out episodes as often as some of the other channels might. One day, Perhaps I'll be able to do this full time, and I'll be able to put out daily videos for you. Believe me, I'd like nothing better. But until that day comes, and until the next time I see you again, good hunting. Thanks for watching. I hope you were entertained. If you liked the video, please remember to subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you. And I'll see you next time.